And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at today's sea ice analysis, and sea ice free all along the Arctic coast and well to the north here. And from there, that's not going to change too much for the foreseeable future. From there, going to tonight's weather, we've got this system slowly moving eastward. A weak low develops along this frontal boundary here, right over western Prince William Sound or so. So rain pushing eastward here, and that will increase the clouds across the northern panhandle later tonight. And periods of rain up into the upper Tanana Valley from the Copper River Basin there, almost up to Eagle. Another batch of rain back here associated with a low over the western Arctic coast, and then drying out over the Bering Sea with some clearing developing and continuing to slowly move northward in Cook Inlet. And a warm front spread some light rain up to Adak and Atka for tomorrow. That system comes onto the chart here with rain sliding eastward, light rain, fog, drizzle. Not much of a wind producer at all here, but wet conditions should get into the western Alaska Peninsula tomorrow afternoon and extend back to Adak and Atka. Drying out here over the north central Bering Sea, showers continue up towards St. Lawrence Island with a weak low near Gamble, and still quite an area of light rain and showers here in the central interior, back up across the Kobuk Valley and along the north slope and Arctic coast. Drying out, partly sunny skies tomorrow afternoon. Cook Inlet trying to push into the Manooska Valley, but see some showers early on there up toward Palmer. Scattered showers to the Copper River Basin, and rain, light rain, slides into the central and northern southeast coast. And for Friday, weak front here pushes up to the western Alaska Range, a little bit of precipitation with that. A little bit more widespread here at the main low center there, just east of Norton Bay, and a trough extending down to the Yukon Delta. Scattered showers, Brooks Range, dry for the Arctic coast, and showers for the Panhandle, as well as the Copper River Basin. Mostly sunny, but increasing clouds as this weak front approaches in the afternoon there for Kodiak Island. And dry conditions, maybe some sunshine early on for Cook Inlet into the Susitna, Manooska Valley areas, but should be dry throughout the entire day. And this front and low center here brings some light rain to the Alaska Peninsula and beginning to end over the eastern Aleutians. Coastal water forecast. South coast tomorrow, the Panhandle, west winds 15 knots. Central coast south at 15 to 20 knots, and the north coast looking at east winds at 15 knots. Seas 4 to 6 feet all along the offshore areas. And for the Lynn Canal zone, south at 15 knots. South winds 10 knots for Stevens Passage, and Clarence Strait, northwest winds at 10 knots. For the south coast on Friday, west winds 10 to 15 knots, and kind of a variable wind pattern here for the central coast, mostly west at about 10 to 15 knots, and the north coast looking at east winds at 10. South winds 10 knots for Clarence Strait, southeast at 10 for Stevens Passage, southeast at 15 for Lynn Canal. Prince William Sound, eastern North Gulf Coast for Thursday, variable winds at 10 knots, seas 2 to 3 feet. Northwest at 20 for the western North Gulf Coast. Small craft advisories, excuse me, for southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, and the Barren Islands. West winds at 30 knots and southwest at 15 for northern Cook Inlet. And for the day on Friday, variable winds 10 knots, Prince William Sound, eastern North Gulf Coast. Northwest at 20 for the western North Gulf Coast. Small craft advisories, west winds 30 knots there, Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. Cook Inlet, west at 20 and 10 knots north of the Forelands, again out of the west. For the Alaska Peninsula, variable to southwest winds, 10 to 20 knots, west at 20 for Bristol Bay, and for Kodiak Island, west winds 20 to 25 knots. And for the day Friday, Kodiak Island, small craft advisories, westerly winds at 25 knots, Bristol Bay, west at 20, the Alaska Peninsula, west to northwest winds 15 to 20 knots. And for the western Aleutians tomorrow, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, light variable winds there for Adak and Atka over toward Nikolsky, and variable 10 to 15 for the Unalaska Island area. Excuse me. And for the eastern Aleutians on Friday, southwest winds 15 to 20 knots. Southwest 15 to 20 for the central Aleutians. And out west, mostly west to southwest winds at 15 to 25 knots. Southwest coast, St. Lawrence Island, all looking at a southwest wind at 25 knots for Thursday. Pribilof, same thing, southwest at 25 knots, seas just under 10 feet. Southwest at 30, St. Matthew Island, seas just over 10 feet. West at 25 for Norton Sound. And for Friday, for Norton Sound, west winds at 20 knots and northwest 20 for St. Lawrence Island. West-northwest winds at 20 knots for the southwest coast. Pribilof Islands and St. Matthew Island, west at 15. Eastern Arctic coast tomorrow, south to west winds at 15 knots. Central coast, south at 15. West winds 15 knots for the western coast and the Chukchi Sea. West winds at 20 knots. Then for the day on Friday, north to northwest winds 20 to 25 knots for the Chukchi Sea. Western central Arctic coast there, north at 15. And the eastern coast, winds will be west at 15 to 20 knots.